Masoud Pezeshkian has become Iran's second reformist president after beating the Islamist hardliner Saeed Jalili in a runoff election on Friday. The vote saw low turnout, though, and elections that the US State Department has called not free or fair. Bloomberg's reporter covering Iran joins us this morning, Golnar Motevalli. Welcome back to the radio studio, Golnar. You've done a lot of work on explaining the importance of these different figures to us. How much power will this president have? He's former health minister himself. How much power does he have versus the supreme leader? What do you take away from this vote?
So that's, you raised a very good point there, and that's one of the reasons why we can say that the turnout was so low. It's an ongoing issue within the Islamic Republic, and it's this idea that ultimately the president can't do very much because the ultimate authority in the country rests with Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader who you just referenced to. And I think this election doesn't change that at all. But it's interesting that Pezeshkian won this election. It was on a low turnout with a runoff because the odds were stacked against him somewhat. He was on a ballot initially of 6 candidates as the only reformist. All of the other candidates were very much hardliners, conservatives from the same broad political faction in Iran. What that tells us, I think, is that even on a low turnout, the consensus in the population is that hardliners are not popular. So this is what I think the Islamic Republic and someone like Khamenei can take away from this. Whether he admits that publicly is a completely different issue. But it's interesting that Pezeshkian has won, or cynics would say has been allowed to win this election. And I think that's where the big question mark now remains, is what can he do? How much can he achieve? Is he president in a way so that the Islamic Republic can stabilize internally what's been going on in the country recently? We know that there was this huge uprising between 2022 and 2023 over the death of Mahsa Amini, who was arrested for allegedly violating very strict Islamic dress codes that apply only to women in the country. That level of dissent has been something that has been concerning for the state institutions and the Islamic Republic and the clerical establishment, especially, for a long time. They are worried about that. So having a man like Pezeshkian, who presents doesn't present as a religious person. He is a religious person. He doesn't have a beard. He's not a cleric. He's the first non-clerical president since Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He's very relatable to a lot of people in Iran. Having someone like that, the question that it raises is, does it help the clerical establishment stay in power for longer?
Yeah. Well, what does it mean for Iran's relationship with the rest of the world and in the region as well?
Well, that's the other key thing. This is a man who has been elected on a kind of mandate of rejoining, or not rejoining, but restarting talks with the West to revive the nuclear deal. That's what he said during his campaign. He wants to get sanctions lifted from Iran's economy. He very much believes that Iran's economy can't really fulfill its own potential without having those US sanctions removed. That requires talks with the US, and that's something that hasn't been very forthcoming since 2022 at least. And under the Raisi government, the previous government, they were much more hawkish towards the US. So there is an assumption here that the relationship generally is going to be warmer. Now, again, it depends how much Pezeshkian can do, how much he can get away with, given that the supreme leader is obviously the ultimate head of state.